I spent way too much on a tiny bit of Greek yogurt, so I'm going to show you how to make more of it for a fraction of the price. First, I heated up some full-fat milk until it hit around 86 degrees Celsius, and held it at that temperature for a few minutes while constantly stirring. Then I let it cool down until it reached just above 30 degrees Celsius. I've got my expensive seed yogurt already in a bowl, to which I'll slowly add and whisk my milk until all the yogurt is dissolved. Then I'll cover it up with some plastic wrap and then put it in my oven, which has a fermentation function. If you don't have any sort of yogurt maker or appliance with a yogurt making function, a warm spot or even just an oven with the light on will work as well. And just overnight, it's set super well. The yogurt already, but to make it more Greek style yogurt, I'm going to pour this into a cheesecloth and hang it up to dry for a few hours, which leaves me with this thick, creamy yogurt. And then you can set some aside to seed another batch, meaning infinite yogurt. I spent way too much on just
The all-new, fully redesigned M4 Mac Mini is worth nothing. Seriously. 6 gig SSD and double those capacities of 32 gigabytes of memory and 512 gigabytes of storage, changing nothing else. The price of the machine swells from $599 to a whopping $1,199. Yep, that is right. Your brain has not deceived you. For $1 less, $1,198, you could get is basically working power. Correctamundo, Apple values it at less than nothing. On the face of things, this is insane, and yet it's not quite as simple as harder Apple fanboy, dumb Mac, always expensive. Because you see, well, I've yet to do much more than take my unit apart, and yes, I was able to put it back together, it works great. I don't know why everybody thought I couldn't do that. Anyway, these benchmark numbers, they speak for themselves. For $600, you cannot get a better deal in the entirety of computing. Seriously, forget this tiny new sub 1 liter case. Forget the mere watts of power that it sips from the wall. Objectively speaking, you cannot build a PC of any size that outperforms this machine for $600 using new parts, period. And I'm going to prove that to you. I spent a lot of time on PC Part Picker playing around with a bunch of different build configurations, trying to save money wherever possible while maximizing performance, aesthetics be damned. And well, I came up with a build fairly similar to Luke's from the WAN show a few weeks ago. It all begins with a Ryzen 7600X CPU, a chip that is a generation old, yes, but a chip that's within single-digit performance of its replacement and at a much lower cost. I mean, I got this thing for just $210. It is a single-core powerhouse that might just beat the M4 in multi-core performance, thanks to AMD's 6 equal cores that support simultaneous multi-threading, a stark contrast to the M4's mere 4 performance cores. Now, as we move on to the second component, yeah, we can already see my first major sign of cost-cutting, the motherboard. Look, there is just no way, no how to get the same 3 Thunderbolt 4 rated ports that the Mac Mini has. Not to mention the other 2 full-speed USB 3.2 Gen 2 10 GB Thunderbolt EX4 add-in card. But even then, I'm just you cannot build a faster computer there that are thinking, what are you talking about? It is always it's the 2012 MacBook Pro. This was Apple's first laptop with a Retina high-resolution display, their first computer with USB 3.0, and the first MacBook Pro with no DVD drive. This is 2012. Coney 2012, remember that? Gangnam Style is #1 on the charts. The first Hunger Games movie is in theaters, and Instagram photos look like it's 2012. And what does it cost to go from a 256 gig SSD to a 512 gig SSD? Oh, $300. That's more expensive than it is today, except for, wait a minute, that also includes a processor upgrade. Back then, you might be wondering, was $300 for an SSD capacity increase of this caliber a scam? No! There was better margin options out there at consumer retail, but Apple's upgrade prices were reasonable. Today, they are not reasonable. They're not remotely reasonable. And is better than what you can get on a PC, and that's why it's more generosity. It is still a welcome improvement. What surprised me is that not only did Apple bring this to computers
This is a Mac Studio, and this is the old Mac Mini, the one from last year with the M2 chip, and this is the new one with the M4. And it is absolutely fantastic. So much so that I actually got one, which is currently Velcro to the back of my Apple Studio display, literally just stuck on the back here, turning this into my own kind of iMac. The reason I have 2 of those, because this is the base spec. The cheapest one for $599, that's the same amount of dollars, which gets you the new M4 chip, 16 gigs of memory, and storage. Whereas this guy has the highest 4 Pro, 48 gigabytes of memory, and also a terabyte storage. So this is the highest spec one. And the big question for a lot of people will be, is it worth paying to go from the M4 Pro? Also, how does it compare to the previous M2 Mac Mini? And also, I've got the absolute top spec Mac Studio here with the M2 Ultra, 192 gigabytes of memory and 8 terabytes of storage. This thing is an absolute beast. So I'm going to be comparing all 4 of these to see which is fastest and, well, which you should buy. I have to say, though, I think this might just be my favorite new Apple product since they introduced the M1 chip in their Macs back in 2020. It's tiny, it's fast, it's actually really good value, especially if they now spec all Macs and MacBooks with 16 gigs of memory. Until now, you had to pay 200 quid extra to upgrade from 8 gigs, which I've always recommended people do. Now you can use that money to double the storage, perhaps to 512, or since it's a desktop, you could just buy a terabyte SSD for £100 and plug it in the bag for all your bigger files and videos and work projects. Bear in mind though, for $599, this is all you're getting. You don't get a keyboard, a mouse, or trackpad. You don't get a monitor, of course. So you're going to have to build your system around it, your setup, unless you already have one, which case you can just plug it in. And actually, this does use the same power as the previous gen. So if you already have an M1 or M2 Mac Mini, it's literally just unplug and replug, and you're good to go. I'm literally just playing with this thing. It's so small. We're talking 5 inches by 5 inches and 2 inches deep. So it is actually a little bit taller than the previous Mac Mini. In fact, quite a bit taller. But the overall footprint is roughly half what it was before. It definitely takes cues from its big brother, the Mac Studio, in terms of overall aesthetic. We've got some I/O at the front here, a couple of USB-Cs, which basically replaced a couple of USB-As that we get on the back. So now we have 2 USB 3s, Type-C on the front, and 3 Type-Cs on the back, although only these are Thunderbolt. So if you're going to plug in your monitor, fast hard drives, hubs, then you want to use these 3. The front 2 are best just for connecting your mouse and keyboard or slower accessories that don't need the speed. That would have been nice to see if these had been Thunderbolt as well. And of course, if you spec the higher end version with the M4 Pro chip, these are also upgraded from Thunderbolt 4 to Thunderbolt 5, going from 40 gigabits per second up to 80, which can dynamically boost to 120 with Thunderbolt 5. So you can actually support 2 8K 120 screens or 3 4K 144Hz screens via one Thunderbolt 5 port. Although you will need a hub as well to get them all together, but that can all go into one port. It's incredible. And also, all new Mac Minis support up to 3 external displays. Previously, it was only 2 unless you went for the Pro version, the M2 Pro. Now you get 3 screens with all versions of this. We also get an HDMI 2.1 gigabit Ethernet, which you can upgrade to faster 10 gigabit if you have crazy fast internet speeds. Although for me, I think most of us it's probably not worth paying 100 quid more. 3.5mm headphone jack, we've got the power, of course, and also some pretty basic built-in speakers. Still Wi-Fi 6E and Bluetooth 5.3. No change in terms of the connectivity. We also don't get any USB Type-A ports anymore. They've been replaced with the Type-Cs on the front, and also no SD card reader like you get on the Mac Studio. What we do have though, and what seems to be the biggest issue people seem to have with the new Mac Mini, is this button placement. It's a power button, if you will. It's right there on the back left corner. It's a bit of a silly design. It's not a problem at all. How often do you actually press and hold the power button on your Mac? Very, very rarely. And just press it. It's a bit awkward, but it doesn't matter at all. Good news though is that this is actually Apple's first ever fully carbon neutral Mac, which actually is a nice plus. So there's 3 key selling points of these new Macs. One, of course, being this small, you can literally fit it in a jacket pocket, you can throw it in your backpack, and just kind of inspires you to have a more unique setup, whether you're pairing it with an Apple Vision Pro, if you're one of the 5 people out there who bought one, like I did, especially now with the latest software where you can share your Mac desktop to it, and also have ultra-wide screens. It's actually really, really cool, and again, given how small it is, you can take it with you to a coffee shop and plug it in and look like a bit of a tool wearing this, but it's a good option. Or as I've shown you earlier, you could affix it to your display, whichever one you like. I don't know if I would recommend this Velcro setup. It's literally just a piece of Velcro double-sided that I'm stuck and then stuck to the back of the monitor. I don't know if I'm going to trust this for the long haul, but it's a bit of a proof of concept. And there are actually a lot of people who are 3D printing brackets to do this. It's also much lighter this year. This is about 1.5 pounds, down from 2.6. So for these under-desk, behind monitor, weird setups, that lower weight definitely helps. You've just got so much more flexibility when it's something this size. And also, as I say, starting from $599, which, spoiler alert, and I'm going to come to at the end, is probably the one you should go for. As I say, base model, M4 chip. And looking at higher clock speeds, also, I think the bigger deal for most of us is the fact that they've upped the memory to 16 gigabytes across the board. And as we will see, comparing it to the base spec from last year with 8 gigabytes, that actually is probably the bottleneck for most people. So versus last year's Mac Mini, we've gone from the M2 to the M4, we've gone from 8 to 16 gigs of memory, we've got up to 64 gigabytes of memory, and as I mentioned earlier, you can now output to 3 displays, whichever model you go for. Plus we have faster Thunderbolt 4 or Thunderbolt 5 depending on spec. So more compact, very cute design, really good value, and also solid performance. So let's get into a few numbers. I spent my weekend basically benchmarking all 4 of these Mac Studios to get a sense of which is the best spec and just how this compares. So let's get nerdy for a second and talk about some numbers. Now versus last year's base spec M2 Mac Mini, the new base M4 Mini is between 40 and 70% faster in these single and multi-core tests. Jumping up to the high spec M4 Pro doesn't add a ton in terms of single core, but it's significantly faster in multi, and almost double in Cinebench. I didn't expect that. But then look at